Good afternoon. I'm Amy Ryan, Deputy Editor of Metering and Smart Energy International, coming to you from the African Utility Week studio. And today I have with me John Ayodele, Deputy Managing Director of Ibadan Electricity Distribution Company. Welcome, John.
Thank you very much.
Good. Today we'll be discussing a lot around the Nigerian metering sector. And of course Ibadan's experience so far, thus since privatization. Ibadan recently announced that they will be rolling out 300,000 meters. I wanted to know, as part of a 10-year rollout plan, I want to know when will that rollout start?
Well, we have started in a way to roll out. It's not a new thing. We looked at the commitment that the regulatory authority put across to us, that after 5 years of existence, they will not allow any form of metering that has no meter. They will stop any form of estimated billing.
Yes.
So for us to achieve that, and looking at our metering gap of almost 1 million, we have no choice than to look at how we can roll out about 300, because we have 3 years left.
Yeah.
So we must roll out a minimum of 300,000 every year in order to catch up with the
targeted
with the target.
Yeah.
So this is what we are trying to achieve. It's a Herculean task because it involves a lot of investment.
Yeah.
It involves a lot of money, and finding money for the power sector these days is one of the great, but it's a challenge that we have to face, and we are facing it.
Okay. Tell me, what has Ibadan's experience been since privatization and rollout of smart meters? What challenges have you faced?
IBDC has been going through a lot of different challenges.
Yeah.
When the company was just taking over, the statistics, the data for customers that were left behind for them to work with were very, very bad.
Yeah.
Some had names, no address. Some had address, no name. Some no name, no address, but there's account number.
Yeah.
To the extent that while the company was only able to rake in about 2.5 billion of a naira in Nigeria from a power delivery of over 4 billion.
Wow.
So that tells you how much. But today, we have been able to ramp up, getting close to 4 billion in just 2 years.
Yeah.
And we did that through aggressive metering, aggressive getting people into their database, and we are doing a lot of work in that direction. The next line of action that we are doing now is customer and asset enumeration, where we can tie the asset, the customer to the asset. And we use that as a billing point. No longer will you be able to say, I am John today and tomorrow it belongs to Peter.
Exactly.
We'll use the asset position to decide where we are metering. And with that, we think we'll be able to capture all our customers and get the right revenue.
Yeah. It's all about matching the customer data with the actual asset as well.
Yes, we are matching the customer data, both the customers that we know, the customers that we don't know, because there are a lot of customers that we don't know, but they are on electricity and we don't know where they are.
Yeah.
So we're trying to capture everybody on our database for the purpose of billing. To that extent, we are living off the old billing system, and by the end of this month, we'll roll out a new billing platform that will enable us to achieve the objective for which we have set.
Have you experienced any technical challenges in terms of the actual meters themselves?
Yes, there are, but I believe that there are challenges that technology will bring and take away. Initially, a lot of the meters were from the Eastern Bloc, and some of them, after 3-6 months of installation, there is a report back saying it's not working.
Yeah.
But we are facing that one out, and we are crediting our suppliers by ourselves.
Yes.
Technically, we have to accredit them from the drawing board to the engineering of it, to manufacturing and to delivery.
Yeah.
We want to take charge of that. If you want to work with us, that is the process.
Okay.
Because with that, we are getting the right quality meters into the system.
And what has been your customers' response to the actual rollout? Are they in favor of the meters being rolled out? Do they feel that they don't have a choice? What has been kind of the response to the rollout, the metering rollout in Nigeria?
No, the customer response had always been that, don't give me bill if there is no meter.
Yeah.
So a lot of customers are queuing up even for the rollout. They are waiting.
Yeah.
The only problem we have in addition to that is the fact that a lot of times for a sizable amount of meters while we install, if you go back there in 2-3 weeks, 2 days, 3 days, 1 week, 2 weeks, they're already bypassed.
Okay.
So it's another trend that we are facing.
Yeah.
And we try to devise means now. We don't put meters in people's houses. We put them on the poles.
Okay.
So that it will be more difficult.
Yes.
They still climb the pole, but it's not as easy as when the meters were just available in their houses.
Wow. Okay. And tell me, you will be speaking at the conference this year on successful meter rollouts and the considerations to deploy meters. Tell me, in your opinion, what are some of the considerations prior to rollout that are critical considerations before embarking on such a project?
Meter deployment is no longer metering as we used to know.
Yeah.
Meter deployment today is the core center of the business. Apart from the engineering angle of providing electricity, the next phase in the marketing is metering. It's a whole range of technology by itself. So a company like ours will have to sit down on the table between postpaid, prepaid, and whether prepaid or postpaid, whether AMI, AMR, or which technology will you deploy. It's a major issue that you have to decide. In our own case, we opted to go for remote, I would say remote reading postpaid.
Okay.
Because the investment required for us to achieve our target, if we stay with prepaid, we will never achieve it because we can't get the fund. So the little money that we have, we prefer to spend it on a postpaid, but which has a reading that I can take either from using infrared or remote reading. So halfway I've gone between high technology and low-end technology. I'm just moving a little bit up because I don't have the resources to massively address mine. By the time I finish in 3 years' time, it's just the first phase.
Yes.
The second phase is that meters that have been installed in 1960, and I should begin to phase them out.
Yeah.
At that time, I will start that phase with automatic meter reading. So because now I've metered all my customers, I've gotten more revenue into my thing, so I have more money to deploy, and therefore I can now look at the automatic, because the investment is heavy, both in the infrastructure and the meter itself.
Okay. Tell me, in terms of your staff or utility staff, is there any training that's going on in terms of how to deploy meters, or their knowledge around meter deployment in order for them to kind of address customer complaints or address technical issues?
There is a lot of training that we do, some internal, some external.
Okay.
Luckily enough, in Nigeria, we have a meter manufacturing company, MoMA's meter manufacturing company. And they design, they build, and they produce meters. Postpaid, prepaid, STS technology, non-STS, they're all there.
Yeah.
So since it's a company, and luckily enough, the company is located inside our network.
Okay.
So we have a lot of relationship
Yeah.
with the company in terms of technical know-how, technology today, the future technology, where are things going.
Yeah.
And we have other partners from China and from some other countries in Europe. But we concentrate more on the local one because, I mean, naturally,
Yeah.
that is what we will encourage, and that is what is readily available.
Yeah.
It's
They know
not-
the market.
Yes, and it's not the type that will drop meters to us and run away. He's there. When we need him, to change, he's always there.
See. Okay. I wanted to touch on a NERC report,
Yes.
which they think it was released about this year or late last year, specifying that there's a gap. I know you mentioned earlier about a million.
Yes.
They estimate there's about a 2.9 million gap that still needs to be filled with meters. How is this being dispersed or kind of allocated to different distribution companies? Have they allocated a certain amount to each distribution company in Nigeria?
I want to assume that the figure came from the returns from the different discos.
Okay.
Every disco is requested by the NERC to provide their metering gap analysis.
Yes.
We have done ours, we have given to them, so I'm sure they collated for every disco to come up with it. You have to realize one thing, that the disco where I come from, the Ibadan Electricity Distribution Company, is the biggest and the largest in terms of land area, in terms of population, in terms of customer size. We are the biggest in Nigeria today. We cover 4 states of Nigeria, and we cover part of 3 other states. So it's quite a large, massive area,
Yes.
with a lot of rural networks. And this is where the economy of scale comes in between high-end technology, because if I deploy high-end technology, the rural areas cannot benefit from it.
Yes.
And the cost of procuring it will be too high for them.
Yeah.
That is why we decided to keep low.
Yeah.
60% of my customers are in rural areas,
Yes.
and I need to give them what they can afford.
Yeah. And then in terms of cost of the meter,
Yes.
is that split between the customer and the utility distribution company, or how is that?
No,
How is it?
there are 2 models used in Nigeria. There's what we call CAPME, Credit Advance Payment Meter Installation. This is where a customer comes in and says, I'm ready to pay for metering, because I know you company, you have so much to deal with, you may not have the money.
Yeah.
So they provide that credit, advance credit. By the policy, we are obliged to fulfill his metering within 45 days.
Okay.
We must meter them, the customer, within 45 days of payment. But that payment is not payment per se, because we have to work out what his payment had been, and we give him energy credit for that money over time.
Okay.
So it's not as if is buying it. It's
Yes.
just advancing a credit to be done. And after a period, I think 6 to 1 year, depending on how the customer wants it, every time he vends,
Yes.
the credit is given as part of his energy.
Okay.
So some energy credit is given
Okay.
that offset part of the money that they had paid.
Yes.
There are others that do not have money to pay.
Yeah.
So we invest in a lot of meters, and then we go to once they fill form or we identify that they need or they have been doing illegal connection, we put a meter there with a penalty.
Okay. Has Ibadan implemented any associated metering services? So, for example, smart billing software or and reflective tariffs. So something that's going to almost enhance the value or that you get out of the meter.
We are presently deploying a new tariff, a new billing system.
Okay.
And the new billing system has many advanced functions. For example, ability to vend on a smartphone.
Yeah.
Ability for people to go to the meter and have a snapshot.
Yes.
Using a smartphone, and it automatically downloads to the billing platform. Ability to use a SIM card in many of our MD meters. We don't need to go there because we have a SIM card connection, and it comes straight to our billing platform. So we are doing that. I think by the end of this month, we'll fully roll out our new billing system, which we call the billing system for the future.
Okay.
Because the large expanse of smartness buried into it, we can't even use them for now. But at least those modules are there. Anytime we can activate the modules and come up with whatever we want to do.
Okay. That's actually something that while you were talking, I wanted to ask you about. So there's the benefit of the smart meters, all about the energy data, right? And how customers can reduce by being informed of how much energy they are using. Now, at the moment, Nigeria, or Ibadan, in Ibadan's case, we're still rolling out meters. So there's that dual responsibility. So is there the responsibility where you have the meters being rolled out, but still is the benefit of having that energy data being realized at the moment, or are you still in the meter rollout phase, or will the energy data kind of efficiency benefits come at a later stage?
There's a lot of benefits that we get today that we never had before. For example, because of the rurality of the area, and because of the fact that the energy given to me from the grid is not sufficient for me. It's not sufficient to go around everybody. So a lot of times there's a lot of massive load shedding. With my new scheme, it's easier now for me to see where the energy is actually required and where the customers there pay more money than other customers. So now it's possible for me to reaggregate how my energy supply scheme will be and see where to cut down on my losses. Because one of the things that the regulator uses to benchmark us is our losses. Now I'm collapsing my losses, and I have to collapse the losses to a certain level within the next 3 to 4 years. I couldn't have done that before. But with the smartness coming with some ways for me now to even sit down in my office and look at my energy flow and how things are done, it's a lot of advantage that we are getting over it. In fact, it makes life much easier for me in the office than when I was there before.
Is there anything that Ibadan as a utility needs at the moment? Where are you finding your struggles or your challenges right now in terms of ahead of the 3,000 meter rollout, 300,000 meter rollout?
There are 2 or 3 challenges that we face. Yes, we have to roll out, but our regulation is capex regulation. So you only allowed a certain amount of investment per year.
Okay.
So the investment allowed IBEDC is not sufficient to roll out the 1 million meters.
Yeah.
So, but what the regulator has said that you can spend more, but you can't recover it in that year you spend it. You have to take it to the next level. When they are doing another minor review of the tariff, then you can accommodate. Because if they allow us to invest like that, what happens is that the tariff will so much shoot up to cover that investment, yes, and it will create a rate shock in the economy, which government will not want, which the regulator is also still guarding against.
Yeah.
So our major problem stands for the fact that we have a capex that we cannot go beyond. Even if we can go beyond, it doesn't make economic sense for me to borrow above my capex, yeah, to invest in this thing when I know that most funding available to me, they are short-term funding. Yeah. Short-term fundings are the worst enemies for the power sector. So now I have to balance out between short-term funding that is allowed, I'm not getting long-term funding, short-term funding, meeting my need, meeting my regulatory obligations, and deployment. So it's a balancing act that I have to do on a daily basis.
Okay, well, there's certainly a big task ahead of Ibadan and, yes, and yourself. But that's it for the moment. That's all that we have time for right now. This is Amy Ryan, Deputy Editor of Metering and Smart Energy International, coming to you from the African Utility Week studio. Thank you so much, John.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, listeners.
Thank you.
Bye.